There's a lighthouse keeper's cottage on an island off the coast of Ireland called Bull Rock that's been abandoned since 1991. And it's one of the most isolated places on Earth. The only way to reach it is by helicopter or a dangerous boat, climb up a 100-foot cliff in rough seas. And inside the cottage, the last lighthouse keeper left everything exactly as it was the day he left, including his teacup still sitting on the table 34 years later. Here's what makes this story haunt people. Bull Rock is a tiny island in the Atlantic Ocean 4 miles off the coast of County Cork, and it's basically just a massive rock sticking out of the ocean with a lighthouse built into it in 1888. The lighthouse was staffed by rotating keepers who lived in complete isolation for weeks at a time, with no electricity, no running water, just them, the ocean, and the light. Getting to Bull Rock was always treacherous. Keepers had to be lifted by crane from boats in calm weather, or in emergencies they'd climb 100 feet up the cliff face using iron ladders bolted into the rock while waves crashed below them. The lighthouse was finally automated in 1991, and the last keeper, whose name was never publicly recorded, left the cottage, locked the door, and that was it. When maintenance crews visited years later to check the automated light, they found the cottage frozen in time. A teacup on the table, newspapers from 1991 still on the chair, the bed made, clothes hanging in the closet, canned food in the cupboard. It's like he just stepped out for a walk and never came back. The cottage has been sitting untouched for 34 years because there's no reason for anyone to go inside. The light is automated and accessed from outside, and the island is so dangerous and remote that only extreme adventurers and documentary crews visit. Bull Rock is famous among seabirds. It's home to Ireland's second-largest gannet colony with over 20,000 breeding pairs, and the birds have basically claimed the abandoned cottage as their own. Photographers who visited say the cottage door is covered in bird droppings, the windows are cracked from storm debris, and inside you can see the 1991 teacup still sitting exactly where the keeper left it through the dirty glass. Here's what makes it eerie. The lighthouse still works perfectly every night. The automated light turns on and sweeps across the ocean, warning ships away from the rocks. But there's nobody there. Just an empty cottage and 20,000 seabirds screaming in the wind. The isolation is incomprehensible. The nearest land is 4 miles away. There's no vegetation on the rock, no soil, just bare stone and bird colonies, and the Atlantic storms that hit Bull Rock are so violent that waves regularly crash completely over the lighthouse itself, which is 300 feet above sea level. Lighthouse historians say Bull Rock was one of the most hated assignments in the Irish Light Service because of the extreme isolation and danger. Keepers would spend 6 weeks on the rock, then 2 weeks on shore, and many reported severe psychological effects from the loneliness and the constant sound of waves and birds. There are stories of keepers going slightly mad from isolation, talking to themselves, having full conversations with the birds, and some refuse to return after their shore leave. The cottage is small, just 2 rooms, a kitchen, living area, and a bedroom. Maybe 200 square feet total, and that's where men lived alone for weeks, surrounded by nothing but ocean and rock. Today, Bull Rock is on extreme adventurers' bucket lists because reaching it is so difficult and dangerous. You need perfect weather, an experienced boat captain willing to attempt it, and either helicopter access or the willingness to climb 100 feet up a wet cliff with waves below. Very few people have been inside the cottage since 1991, maybe a few dozen total. Documentary crews have filmed it from drones, and the footage is surreal. This tiny stone cottage clinging to a massive rock in the middle of the ocean, completely alone, with the teacup visible through the window. The Irish Lights Authority has no plans to ever restore or clean out the cottage because there's no practical reason to. It exists as an accidental time capsule of 1991 lighthouse life, and the remoteness means it'll probably stay exactly as it is for decades more. If you just learned there's an abandoned lighthouse keeper's cottage on an Irish island that's been frozen in time since 1991 with the last keeper's teacup still on the table, It's surrounded by 20,000 seabirds and can only be reached by helicopter or a dangerous cliff climb. And the automated lighthouse still works perfectly every night with nobody there. Follow for more incredibly remote Irish places where humans once lived, but nature has reclaimed.